Do you like scary movies? What is going on, everybody? My name is JoJo. Today, I'm super curious to talk about everything and anything spoiler-wise when it comes to Scream 6. I finally have seen this. I've seen this movie 2 times now. Probably should go see it a third time, but I needed at least 2 times to really soak up what I saw. Because the first time around, I'm sure a lot of people can agree, like it was so filled with adrenaline, the movie and myself, that I just really black out and I'll just start forgetting details. Under the same breath, I'll still forget details after the second view. So I can see why some people go to the movies and see this 4, 5, 6, 7 times because they're trying to memorize the whole film. Maybe I'll see it a third time. We'll see. But this is just going to be a ramble conversation. I'm not really going to go in any particular order. Just want to get all my spoiler thoughts out there. What I loved about it, what I didn't like about it. Now that I've seen it a second time, I do have a couple of gripes when it comes to the film, but nothing intense. To get right into it, the opening scene of this film, as we all knew, I knew Laura. We knew she was going to be the opening kill. It was pretty much certain that it was going to be her. I loved the fact that we got to take this setting into a bar in the public area. I love that it was a blind date conversation, because to me this felt very realistic. It was very realistic on how this could happen. We've seen on the news, I explained this in my spoiler-free review, that we see on the news all the time about people getting attacked, getting killed when it comes to blind dates and meeting up with strangers in random places and getting killed, or vacation-wise, going on vacation and getting killed. These things could happen. So the whole time this was playing out, listening to the conversation between Laura and her blind date, I was like, yo, this is... First of all, I knew by the voice, I was like, this is Tony Revolori's voice. I picked it up right away when she started talking to him. So I started to get an inkling, okay, he's probably going to kill her. Just didn't know when that reveal was going to happen. But I love the whole aspect of the conversation that they were having between each other. Part of me was unrealistic when she went out into the street, went to the alley, starts running into the alley, because I'm sure a lot of us were like, yo, what are you doing? Like, that's not real life. I don't think anybody would actually just run into the alley because some random strangers on the phone telling you, I'm about to be attacked. Oh my gosh. And especially when you can see the whole alley. We saw her point of view. You could see the whole alley. There was nobody in her alley. So what were you running to? There was nobody there. So she definitely should have kept her butt on the edge of the alley and just talked to him from there. I loved her performance once Laura was attacked. Samara's screams were very, very realistic. I felt the pain, every stab that she was taking, every scream. I was on edge. It was cringe. I was like, oh, this effing sucks. Like, you could feel the pain that she was going through. And then, just like I'm sure a lot of us were expecting, I was expecting maybe a title card, but I wasn't at the same time. I don't know. It was one of those moments where, like, is this it? Because it was really quick. But once he slashes, and we did not get our title card, and then Ghostface comes out, and it's Jason, Tony Revolori's character, Jason, I was like, there it is. See, I knew that voice was his. I knew it was his voice. And then the storyline continues on. Then we get to see him in his apartment. And then this was the second portion of the opening that we get into that I really enjoyed, because another realistic thing, there's psychos everywhere, right? And there's people out there who really do have a thirst for killing. Again, real life situations. We have hundreds of thousands of serial killers in our world, famous serial killers in our world who think like this. So that conversation Jason has with Ghostface and talking about how was it killing Laura, and just listening to his tone and the words that he was using and his face, he was just eating it up. He was loving it and talking about how she was less human and became more meat. All that was so dark, and I absolutely appreciated it. Then eventually he gets whacked at the fridge by Ghostface. I keep going back and forth if I liked that last line when he's like, "We have to finish our movie," and then Ghostface says, "Who gives a F about the movies?" and then kills him off. And then the title card comes up. The "Who gives a F about the movies?" I liked it, but I didn't like it at the same time. I don't know. Part of me felt like it was a little bit cheesy. Not sure. Moving on to our characters, we had our core four. Sam, Melissa Barrera as Sam was clearly the standout for me. I think she got into her character much more. We got to see Sam evolve. Sam had much less fear in her. She was ready to fight. She was ready to cut. She wasn't here to play games. And you sensed it from the very beginning of when she gets on screen. Seeing her protect Tara at the Omega Beta Zeta party. Actually, I don't even think it was Omega Beta Zeta. I think it was just a frat party, and she was possibly going to rush Omega Beta Zeta. Shout out to Cece. Rest in peace, Cece. When Sam comes up and tases the guy in his private parts, we were like, dang! She's not here to play. It's like, don't F with her sister. Don't mess with Tara, because she's going to get you. The sister dynamic between her and Tara was really good. I appreciated every moment that we had that was full of emotion. Like the conversations that they had between each other. The conversations actually between the core four. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, but the moment when Mindy was already attacked and at the hospital, I think they were at the hospital, when she's like, "I'm scared and I don't want to get hurt again." Chad is like, "I don't want to get hurt too." And Mindy says, "Of course, I don't want to see you get hurt either." And then they have that moment where he puts his head on her shoulder, that twin bond. Those moments throughout the film, again, Mindy and Chad, Sam and Tara, I loved all of that. We didn't get much of that in Scream 5. So it just made the film much more grounded, much more vulnerable emotion. It makes you care about our characters even more. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people walked out absolutely loving our core four and not wanting to see them get hurt. And they all do get hurt, but they survived. We'll get to that. Mindy and Chad, out of those two, I preferred Chad a little bit more just because he was like the muscle of the group. He was like the big brother. He was there to protect his ladies of the core four. Seeing him interact with Tara and then basically falling for each other, it took me back a moment. Like I was surprised because I really expected them to have just a very brotherly sister vibe at first, just going off of just Scream 5, I guess. Not that they were around each other a lot in Scream 5, they weren't. But that's just what I was guessing was going to be the storyline. I wasn't expecting two members of our core four to fall for each other. So I think after a couple more watches, I like it even more. Like, I don't hate it. I don't love it. But it was a nice touch. Seeing Gail in this film was pretty nice. I don't necessarily think she was really needed. She was just kind of there. And I had an inkling, or just, I think there was some word on the Twitters that she was going to get punched or slapped or punched by Sam, and that she was going to swerve out of the way. So it was really nice to see that happen because it was paying homage to Scream 1 and Scream 2, really. But seeing her swerve out of the way, and she's like, "Nice try, sweetie. I've played this before." And Tara come in and just and punch her instead. That was a good surprise. You weren't expecting that. So again, it's like revamping Scream 2, but doing a little bit of a twist with it, which was Scream 6 altogether. It really was like a version of Scream 2.0. It was Scream 2.0, really. And I didn't mind it. Now Gail's chase scene, chef's kiss. It was really good. It was drawn out. There was a lot of dialogue between her and Ghostface. I absolutely loved it. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time because I just could not tell, is this Gail's death scene or is she going to survive this? I was rooting for Gail the whole time, but by the end of that, I couldn't contain myself. I was freaking out. I was like, Gail's dying. They're really going to kill Gail. We have Dewey. Now Gail. I couldn't believe it, and I didn't want it to happen. I really thought she was done. Even at the very last moment when she says, which was like, gut-wrenching, tell Sydney, he didn't get me. And she closes her eyes, and it just makes you think like that was her passing. But then eventually we see that she's alive, which is like, okay, she's alive after that whole attack. She's alive. But so is the whole cast. So I don't know. We'll see. Hayden Panettiere coming back as Kirby was a nice touch. I think there's been some talk on Twitter of people not liking how she presented herself as Kirby now. But I feel like people need to remember that Kirby in Scream 4 2011 was what? 17? 18? A high school student? No carefree, no troubles in the world. And now we have 30-year-old Kirby who's lived through some traumatic stuff, and we're expecting her to still be like this witty, carefree, smiling all the time jokester, like just that cool girl that we saw her in high school. I don't know about you, but everybody changes between high school and in their 30s. I didn't mind her character. I didn't mind the way she presented herself as Kirby. It still felt like Kirby, but this was just a more mature, grown-up, serious version of Kirby. She went through a lot of traumatic stuff, so I can absolutely see her coming back into this as a new, mature, fearless kind of person. And her joining the FBI, I thought that was a good touch. It honestly it makes sense to me. We had our newcomers, Anika, Quinn, Ethan, and Danny. I don't think Josh Sagata as Danny had much to do. He was just kind of there. I was still keeping my eye on him because I just couldn't tell if this is going to be a killer or not. I loved the smooth, calm, collected tone that he did, especially when he was talking to Sam and just being sweet with her and a little bit of a jokester, especially in the apartment stairwell. Or when he was telling her, don't trust anybody, even me. I love the way he presented himself. He kind of reminded me, and if you haven't seen it already, his HBO show, The Other Two. He's on a show on HBO Max called The Other Two. He kind of reminded me of his character in that, just the way he spoke. I loved it, but he really didn't have much to do. So maybe they're just setting him up for a bigger storyline for Scream 7, if it happens. Anika, I was not expecting to enjoy her character as much as I did. From the get-go, I was like, man, this girl is a ride or die. First of all, she loves Mindy. She's by Mindy's side, and she was sitting there trying to protect Tara from going upstairs drunk and do whatever she was going to do with the frat guy. She was there to stop that from happening, and it broke my heart to see the apartment scene, which is my favorite scene of this film, by the way. Right now, at least. The apartment attack scene and seeing Anika get cut up and just the knife going up on her, starting at the bottom and working his way up, kind of like what they were doing to Dewey. Man, that was really hard to see. And also what was really hard to see is that she was surviving that for the moment. God, that was a great scene. And to see her getting choked out while Mindy's sitting there like, oh, help me. Part of me was like, Mindy, you need to get up and help your girlfriend, by the way. But Anika, I loved her. It hurt to see her fall to her death on the ladder scene. That was a great, edge of your seat moment. The ladder scene with Anika, loved it. That was hard to watch. And good job on the makeup that they did when she hit the ground. She was stabbed and whatnot, but I love that we got a death that wasn't ultimately due to a knife. But honestly, even if she didn't fall off that ladder, I would assume she would die from the knife wounds because she should be bleeding out right here, right? Ladder scene, falling off, nice death scene. Now, Quinn and Ethan, I expected Ethan to be a part of this. You can't ever trust the shy, reserved, nerdy guy. He didn't. I don't feel like he had too much dialogue, but anytime he did speak, and he was just like this quiet, shy guy, I was like, don't trust him. He's in on it, and especially when he had those piercing eyes in the subway when he was watching Mindy and Mindy's watching him, he just looked like he would be a killer. He definitely had a little bit of a switch up in Act 3, where he seemed like he was a little bit psychotic. You know, the smiles and the eyes and whatever he was saying, his dialogue. He came off as psychotic. So I did eventually like him. Quinn and the fake out, that I was not expecting. I was kind of bummed when we didn't get to see her death. We just heard the ruckus, and then we saw everyone's phones with the picture, and then they reveal Quinn's body being pushed out and falling on Anika in the apartment scene, and the ghost face appearing. Part of me was bummed out because I really wanted to see her death. And then that reveal happens when Quinn is alive, and she was a part of it, and she's Ethan's sister, and she's Richie's sister, and that I was not expecting. I wasn't expecting her to be the third one. Now, for our Ghostface Alpha Ghostface, Detective Bailey, Dermot Mulroney. I did not like him. Not sure if the team wanted Dermot to act that way, or that was just him on his own trying to portray a psycho, but it came off kind of goofy. It was something about his dialogue, the way he was saying it was really goofy, and not in a good way. It was funny. I didn't find him as menacing. He was an obvious red herring from the beginning. One of the things that gave it away for me was after Quinn was killed, and he comes out, and he's all, "Oh, my daughter." Oh, and he's crying. It just looked like a fake out to me. It just looked like a fake cry. I would assume him to be a little bit more emotional, finding out that your daughter was killed, and us knowing as an audience that you have an older son who passed away as well. And he's like, "My whole family's gone." All of that looked bad. I think they should have taken and used another take or two and redo that, because that didn't come off genuine. So that was a giveaway for me. And like I said, when they revealed that the detective was behind it, I don't think I flinched. I was like, dang, which we saw coming. And then Ethan takes his off. Again, wasn't super shocked. Had an eye on him. And then when Quinn was revealed, that was probably the only part where I think I stood up a little bit more in my seat. I was like, oh crap, dang, wasn't expecting Quinn to be involved on this. That was probably the only surprise on that. Detective and Ethan probably could see coming. So overall, the reveal wasn't grand. I don't think you would say it's the worst, but it was just kind of like, eh. Now the whole third act, the third act is at the old theater where the shrine is at. Another red herring that the detective was in on it was when they were in the third act, and the detective calls Sam to tell her Kirby doesn't work at the Atlanta FBI precinct anymore. They let her go. She's crazy. Get out of there. That was them trying to subvert us and make us think it's not him. It's Kirby, obviously. Again, saw through it. We didn't see the detective get a phone call from the Atlanta Police Department saying Kirby was crazy. We just saw him calling Sam to say that he could have made that up, which he did. So that was another red herring for me. But the finale, there was more talking and less action happening. I was expecting a little bit more of a chasing going on in the third act. It was just to me, it was a lot more dialogue, and anytime somebody was getting attacked, no one was running around. We were just like standing there talking to each other, bam, and someone was getting sliced or cut. It wasn't much of a running around and getting attacked as the scene goes on. And I guess I just was expecting more of action in the third part. And then the cliffhanging part where Tara's dangling from the second floor and Sam's holding on to her. I was expecting that to play out a little bit different. I was wondering how she was going to slip and dangle like that. And what we saw was them climbing up to the second floor. They were going to take the ladder up. It looked like an emergency exit. Wasn't expecting that. Wasn't the biggest fan of that part. Once she fell and stabs Ethan. First of all, rewind that, because another issue with this film is the stabbings. People are getting brutally stabbed left and right, and everyone is A-okay. Before Tara was dangling off of the second floor, she was literally just kissing Chad, and and gets stabbed in the back by Ghostface. And then after she's stabbed in the back, I don't remember her really flinching after that. I don't think she even was aware, hey, I was stabbed in the back. I should be limping or holding my back or in pain a little bit more. It was none of that. And I think the biggest surprise of that whole thing was, the biggest shock when it came to stabbings was Chad. I mean, we watched two Ghostface killers just go ham on Chad. He's dead, right? We were like, this is it. This was Chad's death, which was hard to watch because, again, we love the core four, but to find out that he survived that, I'm sure everybody was like, what? How? You know, it's not like a surprise like when Scream 2, when Dewey gets stabbed in Scream 2, we think he dies and he survives it. He was he wasn't stabbed as much as Chad was. Chad was just like bam, 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 bam. It just didn't stop. And he survived that. How? What? Wasn't expecting that. I really thought he was done. But I'm still happy he's alive because I really do love the core four. I love all four of them. I don't want any of them to die. But I know to keep the movie going and to show, like, you know, the stakes are off, we have to have some people die, unfortunately. Maybe that's going to be left for Scream 7 because we still have our core four. We still have Kirby. We still have Gale. And honestly, my mind is blown by all that. I am so shocked that I walked out of that theater and I have my core four, I have Gale and Kirby still alive. That was not, I wasn't expecting that. Definitely was expecting one of them to die. Out of those 6 people mentioned, at least one of them to go. But I'm happy, you know, that means I just get them in another film. So we'll see what happens in Scream 7. That's probably, someone's going to bite the dust on that one. The subway scene was great. That was a very unique scene to have in Scream, something we haven't seen before. Obviously it's set in New York, so it's going to be different, but to have so many Ghostface costumes in the subway and everybody being paranoid, what I assumed was going to be a fake out in the trailer, watching Mindy get attacked on the subway, I think a lot of us thought this is fake. This is just a Halloween person, party goer, who's trying to scare people, and they try to scare Mindy, you know? I was expecting that to be a fake out, and then once I saw Mindy get stabbed, that was another WTF moment. I was like, no. Wasn't expecting her to actually get stabbed. Was expecting her to die after that scene. It sounded like she was stabbed twice, and they seemed to be long stabs because once he stabbed her, he stayed in there just looking at her, shutting her mouth up while we saw everybody around her not paying attention. That was a way for them to subvert our thoughts, thinking Ethan was going to be a killer, but that was them showing us he's not. He had nothing to do with it, right? Even Mindy says so. She's like, oh man, I got it wrong again. Again, Ethan, I got my eye on you. Literally like what Mindy was doing. Huh? The whole time. Another gripe that I have with this film was these characters not putting some puzzle pieces together when it came to Richie. And getting this reveal that Richie's father, sister, and brother are the ones killing people, and they're getting revenge on Sam for killing Richie. Someone, whether it was Sam or Gale or Kirby, I feel like someone in real life would have put 2 and 2 together that these people, especially Detective Bailey, his face, he is Richie Kirsch's father. Because if this was in real life and Richie was killing these people, I feel like their families would also be on the news. The fact that Gale made another book talking about what's happened in Woodsboro last year, and no one can figure out that Detective Bailey here looks pretty similar to Richie's father. That right there seems another far-fetched moment. We could have done better with that part. That kind of stuff is where we kind of do like an eye roll, because that's something that I feel like these characters, these smart characters, would know and pick up on. But again, this is a movie, so sometimes we have to just take common sense and just throw it out the window for the sake of continuing the storyline. So that's why I'm not going to go too hard on that, because again, this is a film, this is a movie, and sometimes we just have to pretend that that stuff isn't happening to continue the storyline. Now, we did get Skeet Ulrich coming back to play Billy. I preferred, I'm gonna say Ghost Billy because I feel like that's what we all think of him as right now. Ghost Billy. I prefer Ghost Billy in this film versus Scream 5. I think in Scream 5, what everybody hated was the makeup, the CGI on Billy. He didn't look like 17-year-old Billy. It just looked off, right? In this one, what made it different for me was that Sam was talking to Billy through the clear glass display case of his Ghostface costume. So we only saw the reflection off of the clear display case, and to me it looked better because it was a little bit hazy, and I think it worked better this way versus Scream 5 when we were seeing Ghost Billy in the mirrors. We could see his face pretty clearly, and it just looked off, right? And also in Scream 5, the way he was talking with Sam and like pushing her to kill and kill and kill, it just seemed kind of like, I don't know if I like that. And in Scream 6, we got him twice. I appreciated his appearance in this one much more. I didn't mind the dialogue that they had. Now that we just knew he was in this from Scream 5, I appreciated him a little bit more in Scream 6. I didn't mind the way he looked. I didn't mind the dialogue that he had with Sam, trying to get her to clear the room, cut somebody up, get out of there. You're not safe. You know better than this. Those are the things I kind of liked that he said to her. But again, Skeet Ulrich in Scream 6, in my humble opinion, much better than Skeet Ulrich in Scream 5. I'm glad that they mentioned Sydney in this film, just saying, hey, Sydney sends her love. She took Mark and the kids and they went somewhere safe. She deserves her happy ending. I'm glad Gail was the one to say that she spoke with her. But I'm glad that that's what they chose to do to explain why Sydney wasn't there. I mean, why would she be there, honestly? Why would Sydney be in New York? There's no reason for her to be out there. It makes me very curious to know what the original idea was to include, how to include Sydney, and why would she be in New York? Makes me very curious to see what they would have done with that. I would assume it's obviously has something to do with Gail, maybe a book. I don't even know, because I don't even know if, as a fan, if we would like it, you know. And that it goes as well for Gail. Like, I don't really think Gail was needed in this film. I think the core four handled it well. I'm glad that the story was more about the core four versus talking about Gail, Dewey, Sydney. You know, like Scream 5 was kind of like that. You know, we spent a lot of time with Dewey and bringing Gail into the mix, and then Sydney in the ending, and it just took time away from developing Sam and Tara, because these are our main girls, right? So Scream 6 obviously had much more time to develop Sam and Tara, and that's what I loved. That's what I think a lot of people enjoyed, was getting to get new characters, new story, fresh ideas, getting time to progress their character arcs, their story arcs, for us to really invest time and love them. And when something bad happens to them, it's like something bad happens to us, because we feel it, just like we felt Sydney from 1, 2, and 3. I'll throw a 4 in there. Now, the whole thing with Sam and her dark past, I hope it doesn't turn into Sam being a real killer in Scream 7. You know what I mean when I say real killer. I don't think that's the route they're taking with this. I think this is just more of like a woman who has gone through some traumatic things. I think it's just us watching her battle and fight those two parts of her. But at the end of the day, Sam is going to be the good person, the heroine. But I don't think she's going to become a real killer. That's not where this is going. At least I hope, pray that's not where it's going to go. I just don't want us investing so much time into Sam and then for them just to turn around and make us like, okay, now she's evil. She's the new Billy and we must kill her. I hope that's not where it goes. I don't think it's gonna, but who knows? I feel like it's pretty safe to say that a Scream 7 is most likely gonna happen. I want to see a lot of the things that we saw in this film. I want to see a darker tone, a dark tone. Let me not say darker because I feel like Scream 6 was pretty dark. It had some funny moments here and there, but overall, this was one of the darker Scream films we've ever had. I want to keep that same tone. I would absolutely love to see Sydney in this, and as long as it makes sense. But if we don't get Sydney in this, I will be okay with it as well. I want to see Sam and Tara continue that sisterhood relationship. I want there to be some conflict. I think what would make this very interesting, because we keep bringing it up, I want to see Sam and Tara's mother. I want to see Christina Carpenter. I think that is a good way to expand this world. If we're going off of the storyline, Christina was in high school with Sydney. She knows Sydney. She could have, a grudge against Sydney. That's a good way. That character is a good way to bring all these people back together, Sydney is including, and to give us a really grand, cool storyline or subplot for Scream 7. But you guys, this is all I'm going to say now. I feel like I can go on and on and on and talking about spoilers. Overall, I am very content with this film. Like I said, there are some nitpicks when it comes to realistic stabbings and killings. People should probably be dead by now. But let me know what you think about this film. What did you like? What did you not like? Was there any spoilers or any tidbits that you caught that I didn't catch? Not even including all the Easter eggs in this film, because there was a lot of Easter eggs. And I'm going to go into that. But I'm just overall very content with this film. Like I said, it's not a perfect film, but it's not the worst film. This film was entertaining. So let me know what you think. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All of that helps the channel. And I will see you guys on the next one.